outpacing your income. All right. So this is my thought process. I'm a supervisor at my job, right? A lot of young people come to my job. A lot of young people. I would say a good percent of them, especially females, come in the door pregnant. So I have these talks with them, right? Trying to teach them how to get on the right track, talk about life and all this bull. The issues that I see with a lot of young people or people that are older now when they were young, making decisions with your life that your finances can't handle. What I mean by that is, the example I gave, if I'm making $15 an hour at a job, and that $15 an hour will barely take care of me, why would I go create a child if I'm a man, or get pregnant if I'm a woman? You have a baby, you don't have the skill set or the education or the work history to provide yourself with a better job, to upgrade your income. So what the most people do is they go to work and they complain. I'm not making enough to make a living. I'm not making enough for this decision that I've made about myself that now I expect you to be responsible for. So how do we get around that?
Okay, I'm gonna chime in. I think one of the reasons we do that is conditioning in our community, because we have been taught to be reactionary instead of proactive. You know, we tend to wait for something to happen and then react to that instead of planning. And I think that's been one of our biggest issues, you know, especially as opposed to our counterparts, where they're more strategic and systematic, and they actually teach that to their children, you know, to actually plan things out, where we just kind of, you know, this has been my experience. We just kind of go through life, and then something happens, and then we try to make up to that incident instead of actually being more intentional about what we do. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I feel that. Or we deal with the emotional aspect of it more than the logical aspect of it.
I think answering the question of how do we get around it, I think, you know, we got to make smarter decisions with the family dynamic. I think the thing our counterparts have over us is that I just think back on some of my white counterparts growing up, like their family had that structure. It's like, it wasn't so much they taught their kids like you need to do this to be successful. It's just the way that they live their life. You know what I'm saying? They operated their bank accounts a certain type of way. They operated their household a certain type of way. The mothers did certain things. The moms was the team moms. It was just the way of life for them. It wasn't so much necessarily a plan. It was, but it really wasn't like a thought out thing. It was just, that's what their parents did.
So even on that though, people say that we kind of give them too much credit. Do we really give them too much credit, or is it the reality of what's really going on?
I don't think we give them too much credit. I think they just have a lot of credit because they plan for shit. They got good credit. Yep. You know what I mean? And the thing is, having good credit is a thing of planning. I mean, and they have leverage. I mean, and I'm not trying to say this from a competing standpoint, but I guess you could say it's like competition in the competition of life.
Right.
If you want to get ahead, you know, you it's certain rules of the game, and I feel like they understand the rules of the game versus a lot of us. I mean, I like in my experience in my family, you know, I'm a first generation college graduate.
Right, correct.
You know what I mean? I didn't know shit about credit when I got to college. You know, I didn't know how to write a resume. I didn't know a whole lot of things. It's really more so trial and error because no one can teach me this is what you do. You know, my experience is, hey, son, go to college, and if you graduate, you're gonna have a world of opportunity of jobs waiting for you.
Right.
And that was it. It was no real guidance, no real outlook, no real, hey, look, this is what you need to look out for, blah blah blah. Because I was the one exploring, and I feel like that I don't know if that's the case for y'all, but that's been my case.
Yeah, I think our age range were really first generation. A lot of things, you know what I'm saying? Like the people before us were pretty much like promoting the college aspect of like hopes. I mean, we were the people that really fulfilled those dreams as far as just going out and get education, and education being supposedly being the answer to all our problems, you know what I'm saying? So or the answer to all our prayers. So I think that was one of the things that we kind of got indoctrinated to feel like education was collegiately, education was going to be our best bet. But I don't want to feel like as us giving, I just don't want to feel like we're giving our counterparts, as we're saying, too much credit. Like, because I know what most people are going to say, are they really doing it? Most people are going to say they're going to go back to, back to slavery. They're going to go all the way back to that situation. So is that really where it began, or is it not that deep? You know what I mean?
I think that at this point we can't use slavery as an excuse anymore.
No, different, not an excuse, but I'm saying like, far as the upper hand, can we decipher that portion of life as the starting point of the head start, rather?
Absolutely, I think so. Why wouldn't we? Because at the end of the day, if you're it goes back to the point I was making earlier. Like I said, I don't think our counterparts necessarily have a plan. They just have culture. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's just the way that they do things. If you have been robbed of anything that gives you a sense of pride about yourself to kind of hold you to that moral standard, you kind of at a disadvantage. You see what I'm saying? It's like we all trying to individually in our households come up with a culture.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? We don't have a culture just for us that actually extends beyond being strong and fighting through adversity.
Like the roadmap. We had a roadmap. Huh?
I mean, but culture is nothing but more than a foundation. I mean, if you was building a house, you got to have the foundation right? Yeah. So if we don't have a foundation, we can't build.
So we probably don't have. I guess we don't have a foundation.
I feel like we have too many either, I guess, conflicting viewpoints of a foundation. I mean, I have my idea of a foundation. You have your idea. He has his, and then we'll meet this girl who has a completely different idea, and we don't really talk about it. And then we, like you say, we leave with our dicks instead of our minds, and then fuck around, get her pregnant. And then we just try to come with all these. Oh, this is what the foundation's supposed to be. Oh, really? Or you should learn that when you was a kid. But how am I supposed to learn? You know what I'm saying? I'm from Birmingham, and you from Atlanta, or she from Chicago, or whatever. You have a totally different background than me, so we don't have the same culture versus our counterpoints, which they're a little more uniform than we are.
Right, and then you look at the Jewish community. When they get married, they're looking to marry into their community, not outside of the community first. And it's not frowned upon. We make each other feel guilty for saying that you need to marry somebody that look like you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We can't even agree on that. You see what I'm saying? Like as a common rule.
Facts.
We can't say as a common rule you should do this, but we understand that there's exceptions to the rule. You see what I'm saying?
But I also think that kind of like the aspect of us trying to group everybody together. Like, I think us as a black community, we have to carry the baggage more than other communities have to. Like well, other communities can say we're them, but we're not them. So they can separate the good from the bad in the society. But I feel like we have to carry our baggage with us regardless. So all black people are considered one compared to like white people. Like I'm white, but I ain't them. You know what I'm saying? They separate the. I don't want to say good from bad, but they separate the two.
Oh, no, they definitely separate themselves from the negative depiction of their community, but that is definitely some white supremacy shit. For them to be like, oh, my background is German or French or whatever, they can, again, that goes with culture. Right. They're able to do that, whereas us, we've been completely stripped of our culture, and so and they identify us as, oh, y'all are African Americans, and anything negative, one negative African American represents us all.
Right. But
we can't even agree on that though.
But even still though, we still can't separate the two. Like we could. It's okay for me to say I ain't them niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm black, but I ain't them. You know what I'm saying? Like if I say that, I'm gonna be looked at as
because we don't have that differentiation. Like there is German culture still exists. You still have the Russian culture. It still exists, and you can trace it back. Irish and so on and so on and so on. With us is black. Or indigenous Indian. You know what I'm saying? Like
When you just said German, it's like, yeah, there's Germans and then there's Nazis. Like, like all Germans ain't Nazis, but they could separate Nazis from Germans. But when it come to us, not. You niggas are niggas. Like we use it in both aspects. It's a term of endearment and the convicted.
Like them niggas
over there, like, oh, that's my nigga. So we don't even say we've adopted I guess grouping ourselves together. So I think that goes back to us, and by not developing our own community, or should I say our own culture, and then on top of that, us not being able to be on the same page to agree on what that uniform culture would be.
All right, so let's talk with our culture, because right now our culture is really just cherry picked. Let's just be honest. It's here. You get a little bit. You get a little bit. I look around the world. You see certain cultures, you can tell, like if you look at Polynesians, they all out there dancing and doing whatever. It's like a uniform effort. But in our community, there's two things I think that stand out when it comes to this problem. There's a lack of shame. It used to be a point in time when girls got pregnant before a certain age, or even just pregnant before getting married, or at least having a stable relationship or whatever, even with guys. It was kind of frowned upon.
Right.
They made you feel bad about it. They help you at the end of the day, but they're going to make you feel bad about it first. And they're going to say, hey, listen, all right, you did this. Now this is how you get back on track. All right. We don't have them set back on track. It's too many people when kids or young adults pop up pregnant, 18, 19, still in college, and they dropping out. Oh, okay, don't worry about it. No, you should worry about it.
Or we celebrate the bullshit. Like we have extravagant baby showers for situations like that. Like we have almost like engagement party type situations for baby showers, which is extreme. You know what I'm saying? Like
baby prom shower.
Yeah, I mean,
Very
For bastard children.
but again,
you can't say that, right?
Gonna celebrate that bastard kid. but even that comes from us lack of culture.
Lack of culture.
But if I say I'm not gonna celebrate that bullshit, like, am I wrong?
No.
But in our community,
but
I am wrong.
You are wrong.
But you're wrong.
Yeah.
But see, you know what's funny though? That actually putting both of y'all points together. You just said back in the day, it used to be some shame that came along with it. I think that came from our religious background.
Yeah, it did.
We used to be, because at least at some point that was a part of our culture where we was on the same page. With that religious aspect. But now we have different religious ideologies. So, and now we're in the culture in our community where correction is frowned upon. Yeah. You can't correct, anybody. Well, don't be talking to my kid that way, and I think a lot of that has to do with this about to get us in trouble. Single motherhood. I think with single motherhood, you have the absence of the father in the household. That's where the discipline will come from. That's where the correction will come from.
But even on that though, like it goes back to like dudes making the wrong decision. Like it's a single parent situation because you made a bad decision on who you were sleeping with.
Absolutely. No, I do think we need to put more emphasis on who we stick our dicks in.
Right.
Stop fucking the wrong chicks.
Yeah.
I mean, but you have to live with the consequences. I mean, at least that's
because at this point you have to live with the consequences because you have no rights.
Yeah.
Right.
You have zero rights.
Right.
Yeah. Well, if you make a mistake as a man, you're gonna be punished for it. You're gonna be lashed for it. You got to deal with it. As a woman, you can make a mistake. There's a million and a plethora of options that you can go through and exercise to get out of your situation, and no accountability. But you, as a man, you gotta hold that.
Stuck.
So either you gotta step up, or are they gonna disappear?
So you come up with a plan. Like with me, okay. I didn't have my first kid till I was 27. Right? At that point, I had been in my job for about 6 years, so I knew I could afford a kid. Now, I also knew I couldn't afford to have another kid. Right. So I didn't have another kid for 7 years. Right. But in those 7 years, I found another job. And then I started off with what they call a temp. Then I got hired on. Then I progressed through a certain amount of raises and actually became a supervisor. Then I had another kid. So a lot of times what you see with these people, they have one kid and then they're going to have another kid or another. No raise in between. You start off You by yourself making $17 an hour. You got 3 kids, you're still making $17 an hour, right? And the hardest part is, especially with young people, is consistency. It's not even about education or degrees. Consistency. You got some people that'll work a job for a year, right? They making $17 an hour. Then the next year they work another job, $17 an hour. Then the next year they work another job, $17 an hour. So $17 an hour 3 years from now is not what it was 3 years ago. But in their mind, I'm making $17 an hour. That's true. But $17 an hour at this job, if you had actually stayed for 3 years, in 3 years, you're now making maybe 20, 21, depending. But they kind of get stuck in this. You're going older, and so as a part of you, as you're getting older, saying, "Hey, I want to have kids. I want to do this. I want to do that." But financially, you stuck bouncing between these certain ranges instead of working a job, and then. I didn't have the best job. I just stayed consistent at it.
That was fitting. That was an accident, but let's roll with that. What button did you push? Let's roll with that. Find that button, and that was
keep that on cue.
Keep that on cue. But I was gonna ask you. The job that gave you the raise, was the raise guaranteed?
The first job, it was guaranteed if I worked. It was kind of like this. I made a base pay. Everything above that was dependent upon how hard I worked. So if I wanted to make a certain amount, I go make a certain amount. My second job, it was every 6 months guaranteed.
Okay. So what you just said is the other job. So the raise came with it. So the thing is, two issues that come with what you just said. A lot of times these people they go work these jobs. They're not motivated to move up. They're not motivated. What I'm saying is they don't. A lot of them don't even. They don't have. It's not even guaranteed that they're going to get a raise. You know what I'm saying? Because
right.
So, but if it's a job where every 6 months we're gonna give you a raise, okay, yeah, I can see that. But if especially in this society we live in, this microwave society where people half-ass work. They probably not gonna get a raise because they not gonna put in their effort, like they did back in the day. If you're talking about these young people versus the
don't have kids. Don't have kids until you figure it out.
You saying don't fuck?
No, I never said that. I said don't have kids.
How do you have kids?
It's a lot of ways to get down without having kids. I avoided it for 7 years after I had my first kid. And it took me doggone 10 years from when I first started having sex to have the first one.
Okay, you're a responsible nigga though. You're a responsible nigga.
Or he accidentally didn't have kids.
It goes back to that cultural standard and accountability within the community. It's like if there's no shame there about getting in that position, is going to be a repetitive behavior. And then when you got young kids having sex, you can't. First of all, the kid can't even buy himself a drink, let alone some condoms. You know what I'm saying? The kids out here having sex at 14 and 15, they barely wiping themselves right. So it's like, if there's no accountability, you can't in the community have a set of standards that we all equally agree upon. This is what we dealing with. You don't want nobody having, like you say, nobody can say anything to your child or, well, only God can judge me and all this. Come on, man. That was like the beginning of the end. Like when you said only God could judge me, then you don't believe God exists no more.
And what's funny is when you say that, we have to talk about our dealings in that where the influence of sexual or promiscuity. Like we got our points by knocking chicks off.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So if we was if dude, in order for you to be relevant as a nigga, who you knocking down? Who you fucking? Right. So enabling behavior, I say.
Right.
You know, you got that, and then on top of that, you're talking about the young ladies. If I'm gonna get this baby shower if I get a baby, or I'm
gonna keep him.
Yeah,
if I have a baby.
Exactly, and all she really wants is some attention.
Exactly, just want attention.
All she wants emotion. But I feel like that goes back to lack of fathers in the household. When it's all said and done.
Yeah.
The root of it.
We got to reestablish that culture. Like I guess it's got to start in the households or whatever the case may be. Because without that, how is it going to happen? Like the days of Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or that unifying leader. That'll never happen again.
I think that's dead.
You can bring Martin right back up from the grave and
right
make
now,
him born again.
the exact person.
Well, they'll kill him.
People don't want to hear
They'll
it,
kill him.
but
They dissect him.
he said it earlier.
He would be Umar Johnson today.
You don't have to be the most religious person in the world, but there is a certain tie between religion and responsibility in our community.
Yeah,
Right.
Fact.
Back in the 50s, we were mostly conservative community, very religious, right? Back in the 50s and I think the 60s, 75% of black children were born to a married couple.
Right.
75%.
Yeah.
75%. We didn't have too many kids born in wedlock. As a matter of fact, even back then, you got to think, back then in the South, during civil rights and everything else is going on, the unemployment rate for black people was a lot lower. But it's because we had work ethic, we had standards, and we had this unified belief system.
You also didn't have anything that was incentivizing you not to be a family either.
Right.
I mean, it's so many agendas that's pushing us to the single motherhood in our community, or taking the fathers out of the household, like you said, her getting government assistance or whatever, like you just said, we was 75% of a 2-parent household to what now we're like 25% or less than 25%. I mean, and especially when you have a culture where it's your women saying, I don't need a man. This independent woman culture where when they don't realize what's needed from a man. Yes, you do. If you're having kids, you need a man.
I think that's just been an adjustment of dudes not stepping up. Like we got to be 100% real with the aspect of like cats not being accountable and what they create. You know what I'm saying? Like dudes, like
people don't want to be hypocrites. That's all. People don't want to be hypocrites. Like, okay, a lady have a baby at 16, right?
Yeah.
Then she say, well, I had a baby at 16. Who am I to look down on her because she had a baby? No, I'm not saying look down on her, but like tell her.
Correct that.
You had a
Correct,
baby at
correct,
16, so why would you want to see somebody else do that?
Right.
A young man that come from a single mother household probably don't have a problem creating a single mother household because that's what he came from. He don't care.
Right.
It's like, oh, my mom's a single mom. I make you a single mom.
That's
they
the norm.
They don't care.
He saw his mom thug it out, and that's what he thinks. That's his depiction of black women.
She'll be all right. My mama did.
That's the L though. Like you shouldn't want your woman to be the strong woman that your mama had to be. You know
it's not their woman. They just getting it in. 14, 15, 16,
but
17.
I'm saying not like just dudes that link up with chicks and they say that like this my old lady or this my wife or this my significant other. You shouldn't want your woman to get out the mud like your mama did. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause your mama did it because she had to. She didn't do it because she wanted to. So if we did everything in the correct order, your mama would not have been getting out the mud because she didn't have to, because there had been a male feed to set things the way it should be.
Well, I will say this though. I think it's a conflicting message when you see your mom getting it out the mud, but your mom is also saying, "I'm a strong black woman. I don't rely on them." He think that's the norm, and that's programming. And the other thing, a lot of times is when those situations, those boys, those single boys, they become their mom's boyfriends.
Yeah,
I mean, so it's a real weird dichotomy. You know what I'm saying? That really needs a whole lot of mental health and some therapy.
Yeah, facts. So I definitely think that like when women say that they are being strong black women or strong women, I think that's just a byproduct of what we become. I don't think most women want to be that. You know what I'm saying? They just doing it because right now at this point it's cool to say, and two, like they just headed it down.
But at the same time, you say it's a product of men not stepping up. Is it a product of you not selecting the right mate to have a baby back?
Yeah, facts. That too.
You know what I'm saying? It's like when you got all the cards in your hand, you got a greater responsibility to me. Mm-hmm. If you got the greater responsibility to choose life, if you're pro-choice, you got the opportunity to determine whether a life is brought into this world or not, you hold the greater responsibility to determine whether or not this man is suitable. So are you saying
that she should choose not to have a baby or she should choose not to have sex with this guy?
Both. She got all the choices. So whatever the choice is, whatever the outcome is, she got to hold that as the mother. Unfortunately,
we made sex fun. That's the point. We made sex fun.
I mean, sex is fun.
No. They not supposed to know that. Our parents kept that a secret from us. We didn't know how fun it was until we got older. But now you look at social media, music. It's everyone on TV, and they having sex with neon lights, and you watch all the video,
and nothing is taboo anymore.
Right. I listened to the girl, what's her name, Chloe and Halle Bailey, whatnot. They got some beautiful voices, right? First time I got introduced to them, there's these two little innocent girls, right? Mm-hmm. So she come out with a music video. The average music video, this girl could be singing about her dog that drowned in a fishbowl, and you watch the video, and it's gonna be booty cheeks, thongs, and bendy. You say, what does that have to do with a dog drowning in a fishbowl? Nothing. But if you look at the video, back in the day, videos actually made sense to what the song was talking about. I watched the video, she was singing about one thing, and in the whole video, she's just in a thong, walking around, dancing, doing splits. I said, what the hell does this got to do with this? So we pushing this off on the young people. So we letting them know the secret that we didn't know when we was kids. We had to sneak and look at stuff like that. We had to stay up and watch Uncut to see stuff like that.
I'm glad you said that. No, I'm glad that you said that. We had to, hold on, this goes back to what our parents didn't really tell us, going back to about the sexual thing. We had to sneak. The thing is, what did our parents tell us about sex? Don't do it. Don't have sex. Wait till you're married. Right. The thing is, they didn't teach us the consequences of our actions.
Right.
They didn't teach the consequences. All they did was don't do it. And my thing is, why I have kids, whenever you tell someone don't do it, they're gonna do it out of rebellion. So I feel like a lot of them do it just out of like you said, we snuck to see Uncut because shit, and then when you get a taste of it, you're like, oh, it ain't so bad. Like think about it. I think it's safe to say most of y'all don't get a girl pregnant the first time y'all had sex, right?
No.
Right. So it's like, with our parents, they tell you, oh, don't do it if you don't want this, you don't want that, whatever.
And then bring it home, you're gonna take care of it.
Yeah, the thing is, we have to have these conversations in details and explaining the consequences and the probabilities versus whatever. Because I remember they was like, you're gonna go to hell if you do it. You're gonna go to hell. That's the first thing that's gonna happen if you have sex. I remember the first time I had sex, I didn't go to hell. Right? I didn't go to hell. All right. Okay. So that was number one. Number two is like, you gonna bring a kid into this world. They didn't explain the process. I'm like, okay, I didn't have a kid. I'm like, okay.
You gonna get out.
No, yeah, exactly. Now I just feel like my parents are trying to keep some cool shit away from me. So I'm doing it out of rebellion.
Right.
I mean, so.
It wasn't as scary as bad as you said it was gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, but look at the music. Okay, look at TV. Even with our parents not saying certain things, right? Look at TV. Look at music. Even Snoop Dogg, what was it? Nothing but a G thing. I think he was talking about strapping up.
Okay.
A lot of our music back then.
I thought that was Gin and Juice.
I don't know. One of
them. Yeah. He did talk about it. Yeah.
In the hip hop music back then, the R&B, whenever they talked about sex, it was a lot of condom that went right in there. Okay, Ice Cube, today was a good day. You know what I mean?
I mean, it had to, because that was in the heart of the AIDS epidemic, man.
Right.
They had to use protection.
Right. But I'm saying it was ingrained in the music.
But the thing about it, to the point he's making, though, is like, back then, I don't know, though, because that's still a bad, because it still turned out bad, even though they were saying it. But you still had...
At least they put it out there. That's what I'm saying.
This is the problem, though. I think that music opened the door up for the music we have today. The problem is the music we have today has no conscience at all. They have no obligation or responsible. They feel no responsibility to the music and the content that they put out. And now the music really dictates the culture of this country. Our music, no matter what you feel about it, it dictates not even this country, the world. But what we do as a subculture in hip hop, it dictates everything. And now there's no filter on it. There's nobody saying that you can't say this. When we had back in the day when C. Dolores Tucker and all them was fighting against Tupac, we was like, this old lady don't know what she talking about. Yes, that old lady knew exactly what she was talking about. And we got to recognize that to this day. Like she knew exactly what was gonna happen. She told us then.
Well, Luke, them too.
And we seeing it. Yeah. And we seeing it now.
Facts. And I think that's the thing about it. Like we fought so much for
freedom
to take the brakes off, to take the restrictions off that we did bananas, bro. Like we excuse me, we to the point now like shit like it's almost getting like out of hand. Like at some point we gotta like regroup this shit. Like cause right now it's like it's getting to the point now where it like whatever is okay.
There's no balance.
It's like
no
or boundaries. Like there's no
Boundaries. Yeah, I was gonna say boundaries. Yeah.
The boundaries are like limitless. Like at this point now, like we almost to the point now like that we're gonna go all the way like bare the like maximum things need to go bad for us to like go, all right, bet. Like let's regroup and let's try to think over it because we going so far left it don't make sense. Like it's no limits, nothing now.
That's why I said balance and boundaries. What I mean by balance, okay, you look at music back then. Yeah, we had Uncle Luke. Yeah, we had Lil' Kim. Yeah, we had Foxy Brown, right? But if we had Foxy Brown, we also had Queen Latifah. We also had MC Lyte. You know, if we had Salt Pepper, we also had another artist.
Balance, huh?
Balance in the industry. If you look at TV, yes, we had some shows that was like this and like that.
11 color. Yeah.
But we also had shows, the family shows, that it was balanced. Yeah. So now if you look at TV now, everything sex and drama. If you look at music, everything just sex and drama. If you look at a female artist right now, every female artist wants to be Cardi or Nicki or Megan, you know, clapping, slapping, all that. I'm a freak. I do this with my throat, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so where are the female artists that balance that? Just like with the men. Where's the male artists back then? Okay, even the ones that song about drugs and stuff like that, even those artists would turn around and make songs about uplifting the community. Hey, don't do this, don't do that.
Back in the day, you had to be creative to kind of voice that content. People had to really think, oh, he talking about dope. Oh, he talking about pimping. Now
it's just outright.
It's just right here. They give it to you right in your face. You know what I'm saying? It's no you don't have to be creative no more. I mean, my thing is, we fought, to your point, we fought for those restrictions to be lifted, but we didn't know what we was doing. They let babies take over the school. One, you know what I'm saying? They let the kids take over the school. And now we dealing with the consequences of that, and nobody want to really mention it, but it really, to me, you took it out of the hands of the record labels, and this is what you did with it. Now people are dying for real. And you tried to say it was the record label's fault in the beginning. I'd rather them do that on a smaller scale than we do it to ourselves on a larger scale. You let them, if that was the case, you let them identify the blueprint and then you took the blueprint and multiplied it.
Yeah. But I mean, and I'm glad you said that because I was going to say it did start off with the record labels. You know, with the war on drugs, you know, they started promoting more gangster music, more gangster music, and then what happened? We ended up having an increase of violence from gangster music. So what happened was the new generation saw how successful, you know, gangster music was, and now they're just emulating. So all it is the commercialization of the negative shit. And so now all they're doing is repeating what they see and multiplying because they saw us make money off of it. Versus whereas at least back then when Pac was doing it, Pac wasn't really a rapper. He was a revolutionary. His mom was a Black Panther. So he had a method to his madness. Or if you talk about Cube, you know, like the artists back then, at least they had some form of responsibility in the community. I mean, if you look at what hip hop started from,
or did they, or was it not just that not that far removed from the civil rights movement? Like
right.
It's on the heels of the civil rights movement. Like
exactly.
So that was the beginning of the end, though.
It was like the beginning. Yeah.
It's like we give them so much. I think we give them too much credit, though. We give them too much credit for just being in that moment of time. But back then, they were looked at as we looking at these kids right now. You know what I'm saying? So 10 years, 20 years from now, these kids are gonna be like, yeah, we wasn't doing it this bad. It's gonna be worse. It's only gonna get worse. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna get no better. So you know what I'm saying? It's like we put them on a pedestal, but they really was the reason why it's like this now.
Yeah, facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Because we took the barriers off. Like
Snoop and Dre. They introduced Crippin'. Snoop in particular, the biggest Crip in the world.
Yeah, facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's on the Super Bowl. He's on TV. He is like a national icon. They gonna put Snoop on the Mount Rushmore. Or it's all over with.
That's true. But I mean, if we go back to Pac though, I think it was about how he was depicted versus what he really stood for. If you listen to his interviews and stuff like that back in the day, Pac was still a revolutionary, but that nigga was also bipolar too.
Pac was a kid. He was a kid.
Yeah, he was a kid. He was 25.
He's a kid.
We did not see him. You're right.
Right.
He died at 25. We didn't see him get to his climax.
Some of us was on the BS at 25, and we also had common sense. You know what I'm saying? He was a typical kid that just had a little bit more knowledge at that age, but he was still trying to find himself. He was still trying to. He didn't get to see 30 to be a man to be like, okay, yeah, and settle into himself. You know what I'm saying? He was still trying to find his way.
How do we get back on, like with the hip hop influencing the culture sexually, right? So that's one part of the equation with people outpacing the income with the sex, right? All right, so how do we get back financially? Because on the other end, I was talking to somebody the other day, speaking of the 90s and Pac and all that era. I said, man, you know one good thing about the 90s? You could pretty much wear whatever you want and be fly. Like you could wear Fila, you could wear Reebok, you could wear Champion, you could wear Starter. Like it didn't matter. You could just be good. We kind of reached this point now where everything got to be a certain name, a certain level. You got broke people. People broke, barely making money, but they trying to keep up with the hip hop lifestyle or everything that's being put. I gotta have this jewelry. I gotta drive this. I gotta wear this. I gotta get some Balenciaga. Like what? No, that's like a whole month of your paycheck.
I think the style to me is one of those things that either you have it or you don't.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So like when you see people going out there trying to buy expensive stuff, is because they don't have that in them. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I feel like that, because I used to talk to one of my partners about this all the time. We used to try to pride ourselves on like going to like Walmart or Urban Outfitter. That would just be our store. We like try to find the stuff without labels on it for a reason, because you can pair it. Now I might go buy an expensive pair of shoes or something like that, but my whole other outfit may be like $50. You wouldn't know it though. You know what I'm saying? It's just you got to have a sense of style, and I think that's that, and it goes. To me, it's all foundational. Like
you a product of the '90s though. So what I'm saying, these kids now, right? They don't have that in them. They not finna buy nothing at Walmart or Urban Outfitters.
See, but again, it's culture. It's culture, because I look at my son, right? He goes to a predominantly white school. He don't care nothing about Jordans. I'm pushing it on him. He don't care nothing about it. And I'm really not pushing on it because I know I shouldn't do it. But I'm thinking like, you want these? Yeah. He's like, yeah, I take them. He got no cherry Jordans. They just sitting in his downstairs. We would have wore the soul off of him by now. Right. He got all type of shoes. He just go to school. He wear his athletic wear, the school stuff. He wear that everywhere.
So these kids wear Crocs now.
They Crocs.
They wear Crocs now.
So the question is like, does he just have that the essence of fly, or does he just not care? Like, cause I think even kids that don't care, or kids that are on the same, see, they still fly in their own rights. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's a common. I think the quote unquote fly come from him being around us and just kind of seeing us when we put clothes on. He'll put stuff on that he's seen one of us wear, and he is like, oh, and then he'll get the compliments, and it kind of boasts that, so he knows when to put on clothes, what to do. But for the most part, as far as having that care and the desire to ask for it, he has never asked me for any shoes.
Well, I think that's just. But see, it's kind of crazy, because I want to say it ain't the kids, because it's kids is out here. When we see with the proms every year, like kids is like they really putting a whole script together of other designer stuff. So I can't say it's kids these days. I guess it's just it's weird to understand. Like I don't understand the disconnect.
It's our kids. No, they are learning that from us. Dude, think about it. Dude, Jordans. Our kids don't know nothing about Michael Jordan. Right. But they wearing Jordans. Right. I mean, what I'm saying, like you said, from the 90s, like it was a style, but we put emphasis on Jordans. I was gonna say my experience was a little bit different. While I'm from Mobile, Alabama, you know what I'm saying? My dad was broke, and we, and I remember I had the off-brand shit. Motherfuckers used to jank the hell out of me. We call it janking. They used to crack the hell out of me. I had to learn how to roast back because I had some off-brand shit. Right. You know what I'm saying? So or people trying to fight you because you ain't, you know what I'm saying? Because you ain't, so, and I think that put the emphasis on, now I don't want them to talk shit about me, so let me get some shit that I can't afford in order to not get clowned on or not get roasted on. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna spend, and I think that mentality carries over into adulthood to where, I have to prioritize buying some $200-$300 shoes, even though I ain't paid my power bill.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And now, like I said, outpacing income. Now I have these unhealthy financial habits, doing things because I'm a labor whore now.
You grew up in Birmingham, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what happened in Birmingham.
All right, go
So
ahead.
they call themselves getting away from all that by putting us in uniform. I wore scats throughout, most of my career as a kid.
Definitely.
I got a pair of Flight 95s I'll never forget. It was my first pair of name brand shoes.
With the big toe?
Yes. I got them. I wore them for 2 weeks. The little thread on the side started coming loose. My mom said, "Oh, nope, taking them back." She took them back. You know what she brought back home?
What?
Guess.
At least some soldieries.
Some votes. Some Walmart votes.
Guess.
Guess, was it actual guess?
Guess.
Some gas shoes.
I said, how do I go from...
What did you use?
Where
Where'd you get some gas shoes from?
I went from Nikes to Guess, right? So when they bring in uniforms, I'm thinking, hey, I can finally be cool because everybody gonna be, the same.
But guess what's semi fly though?
But guess what? Guess what we did in the black
Not the
community?
shoe.
What?
Nah, definitely not the shoes.
Now we're in uniforms, right? I'm gonna tell you what happened. I'm thinking everything's gonna be okay. I'm finally cool because we all look the same.
Tommy white shirt.
Guess what? You ain't got on no Dickies.
Right. No, that happened in Mobile too. You ain't have no Dickies, no duck heads stuff. So they started letting us wear sneakers, so we did start wearing the soldieries. I was so glad when I turned 16 and I started buying my own shoes. Cause nigga,
But you know what? We put that on our kids. I think that's just America. Classism is always going to be that. We say because our kids don't do it, the white kids do it on a different level.
right.
They do. Now my truck bigger than yours.
Yeah, fact.
That's true.
My cowboy boots. Look at them. You got them rubber sole boots on.
Yeah, fact.
They flex is just different.
We
It's the
flex
same stuff.
we flex within our tax bracket.
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
Because we can control our clothes, we can't control our whip. Cause nigga, we ain't even have cars.
Right.
We can ride the bus. Go
I
ahead.
don't never like to get into the whole, well, they do this, they do that. That's true. Thing is, they have, as you mentioned, the foundation and the culture to be able to do that and still financially be successful or don't make certain mistakes. It's like being in a football game, right? And quarterback go out there, I go out there and throw a pick. We down by 20 points in the fourth quarter. I go out there and throw a pick, coach fussing at me, blah, 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 blah. Then my well, he threw an interception. You talking about the other quarterback, right? They throw a pick, we get the ball back, I go out there, I get right back to him, coach fussing. I say, well, he throw a pick. He said, yeah, but they win in the game. They can throw a pick. They win in the game.
Not so much.
They win in the game.
Not so much from that perspective, because I also look at it like I see some of these kids that have a great opportunity. Their parents in a great financial situation.
To black kids?
No, white kids.
Okay.
They taking penitentiary chances just to be cool. They selling drugs.
Oh,
and
that's
they
just
doing
stupidity.
Stuff. But I'm saying though, it's still classism. They want it's operating against them because they still want to participate in the culture that they don't understand.
You talking about, yeah, but their consequences are different. They can sell dope and don't spend over 30 years in jail.
They don't know. They don't know that out the gate.
No. They are not going to get the same consequences that we do.
I'm saying they don't know that.
They don't know
It's a gamble.
No. It's the thing is they just want some clout. They see they listen to our rappers and they think that's the culture. That's the cool culture. But the thing is they don't get the same consequences that our kids get for doing what our kids do. Not by the law.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think that changes the.
They don't go into it thinking I'm gonna get a slap on the wrist. That's kind of like you gambling.
Yeah, but when his dad is a circuit judge or some shit like that, he could probably get away with that shit.
But it goes also back to that outpays your income. Like, I mean,
Still outpays your income.
I got better options because my dad is a judge.
Exactly. When your dad is the city councilman or whatever, or the DA or something, you can get away with they can pull some strings. And I was gonna go back to what you said. Their flex is different. You're right. They'll say, "Oh, well, my kid has a Toyota Camry," but like, "Oh, we can't invite them. They drive a Toyota because my kid drives a Lexus." You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like they do it with bigger toys than our
TVs. When you playing the game still, they back outside again. They ain't outside.
That's because the parents probably created some kind of wealth, and they parents see because we have this lack of prioritization, and for most of us now in our community, we have kids before we can even think about how much money we're gonna make or where we're gonna get the money from.
Off top.
The only thing that we have that we can give our kids of value to make them feel good are Jordans. We can't go buy them a truck. We can't go buy them a truck.
Right.
We can't go buy them an ATV like that. So it's like, well, hey, I can get you some $100. I can get some $150 shoes.
I think you own something right there.
I can get some $150 shoes.
We're doing what we can.
I think we give white people too much credit.
They financially messed up too, bro. It's more of them that's financially messed up than it is us because it's more of them.
Hold on.
But that 1% is still the 1%.
But they get to separate themselves from them. These not them. You know what I'm saying? Like us, it's just niggas fucked up.
But what's the point? That don't mean nothing though.
I will say this though. We are probably one or two generations removed from broken households. At least they still got lineage of 2-parent households. They might not got the money, but at least they got
that. I got kids right now coming to my job, white kids, 21, 22. Yeah, man, I was just telling my wife the other day, right, 25 years old, got an 8-year-old, 2-year-old, been married since they was 17.
But it goes back to us like part outpacing, like making a decision. Like, surely they're not married. I think marriage means more to them because surely they don't have it all together to know that this person right here is a person I need to be with for the rest of my life.
Just talk to get married because that's the thing to do, and they figure it out. They get married and figure it out later. We have kids and figure it out later.
But I think at the same time, like it's still a jacked up situation to put yourself in, or either whichever code we're using on. But why do they particularly figure it out? Like why are they still?
Because that structure is there. That blueprint. They're looking at. They jump into marriage because they see that's what they know. They want to be an adult is to be what my parents and my grandparents had.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's the path to success. And then you think about it like this too. When it comes to wealth building and wealth transfer, typically when it comes to those grandparents like that, a lot of them have it in their will. When you get married, you'll get X, Y, Z. You know what I'm saying? Or stuff like that. So it's almost a byproduct of that because it's some guys that I know they're not rich, but they in a situation where they don't have to be financially struggling, and they don't. And when I say that, I mean they come into some land or they may have a few $100,000, but they not rich. You know what I'm saying? But they got money to where they can start their life.
They got assets.
You know what I'm saying?
They got way more opportunities.
So
no, you're right.
They're not starting off at ground zero. I think that now or the negative.
In the negative, yeah.
We get to the point. But I think our generation is starting to get at least starting our kids at least ground zero.
Ground zero, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. As opposed to being in the negative for the most part. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but no, you're right. They promote marriage in their culture. Right. Again, that's a culture, and they'll get married at 17 to 18. They'll let the kids live in the house or whatever. Don't even force them out of the house. They'll let them live in the house. They'll let them get married, establish credit, do all these things, and then get their own house. By the time they 25, they're already established.
If they don't give them a house.
If they don't give them a house.
This was our first house, and they still got it.
That's a wealth transfer.
I was gonna say that earlier. It's like, even think about in your jobs where you work. You don't see a lot of white men in abundance in those situations. Most of the guys that I know that is actually doing well, they're doing something that actually was passed down, like a skill set or something like that. Be it in construction, be it in something to that effect. Something plumbing, electrical work. They're doing something like that. They're not pouring into like the corporate office space like that.
That's true. That's true.
It's funny you said. Oh, I'm sorry. You were gonna talk?
No, I say you really don't see many white boys in lower level corporate jobs.
Of course, because they have nepotism. You know what I'm saying? They could just put somebody else because they know someone, and they could just go ahead and put them into that position. But you said something that made me think about a joke that Chris Rock said a long time ago. He was talking about, I think it was Chris Rock. He was talking about the house that he had. He had this mansion, this $1 million mansion, and next door was a white guy who was a dentist. You know what I'm saying? Like you an entertainer, you work made all this money, but next door is a nigga that's a dentist. That's because he got his wealth was passed down to him. So they encourage to get married at a younger age. But we tell our kids, they go to, as a matter of fact, they go to college to find a spouse. Our kids go to college to find
have fun.
and get a job. Exactly. You get a job, get a house. That's what we go for. And the thing is, we tell them to get married. We try to encourage marriage in our 30s when you all beat up and worn out.
To me though, me personally, I think you should wait till your 30s though.
I think as a man, you should wait till you 30. But as a man, you shouldn't go looking for a woman that's 30.
You said should?
Shouldn't.
I agree.
You should have somebody 24, 25.
Somewhat formative. Yeah. I agree with you. As a man get established.
So what a 30-year-old woman do?
I don't care.
Find somebody.
Get a 50.
I'm about to mess y'all up right here. Think about every girl that's 30-something years old.
They're single.
They're single right now. Okay. Think about her situation, and you know exactly why she's single.
You never know why she's single.
You absolutely know why she's single.
Yeah.
By the time she's 30, that little red wagon so heavy with all these past niggas that she done messed with and been messed over by. You don't. Why put yourself through that type of stress and unnecessary trauma?
And they try to shame us for liking women that don't have baggage. Young girls, like we creeps.
But I really ain't got nothing on a young girl though.
So what?
I really ain't got nothing on a young girl. Honestly.
You don't?
Nah, not really.
I mean, well, the thing is,
I didn't put no 20-year-old. At my age right now, I really got nothing for no 20-year-old.
Well, I think the thing is, they're missing what older men see in younger women. Right. And like usually the man's more established. Go ahead. Yeah, exactly. He can kind of mold her into his. Right. You know, his household or whatever.
I feel that.
Versus by the time she in her mid-30s or 40s, she's set in her ways. Yeah, I done did this. Ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. Blah blah blah. And she done got 2 kids. You know, she got 2 kids, 3 baby daddies. You can't tell her nothing. You know, so how can I coexist? You're not cooperative. How can I be with someone that's not gonna coexist with me? Especially if I'm supposed to be the leader of this household. You ain't even listening to me.
Right.
So
if you in your 30s and you reach that stride, that form where you know, all right, I know what comes with life at this point. To your point, I'm not trying to debate you on the direction in which we're going in. It's not always the case for everybody, but I think on a majority scale, if you had to think about that, and I'm out here dating, and this girl is also 35, she's ran her race, and she has her way of thinking. I gotta prove to you that what
I'm saying is right.
Right. No. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to find somebody 25 that has fresh out of college that's trying to find their way, and I'm going to show her how not to make those mistakes, and we're going to take this path together. And then when I'm 80, I ain't got somebody also that's 83. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's about impression, like with younger female. I don't say too young, but I think it's about impression. You know, if I'm 30 and you 30 and we even making the same money, they just not impressed with it. So they have a thought process of either why should I follow your lead or why should I listen to you if we making the same money? We doing the same thing. So you get somebody that's still impressed with what you're, okay, put it like this. I could be 30, making $85,000 a year. But to a woman that's 30, making even $70,000 a year, she not impressed with that. Cause it's like either she's right there or she's close. She not impressed with that. But if you find a woman a few years back that's probably making 30 or 40, and she's like, wow, he making 85. She's much more likely to be cooperative.
Nigga, you a boss at that point. You are a boss, man. Like, you gotta be a boss. For her to respect, for your woman to respect you, she gotta look at you like a boss, man. Yeah. You can't be in the same tax bracket with her, bro.
She hasn't figured out how far 85,000 doesn't go.
Also, the logic that you have, and even the conversation I know I'm having with this young man that I'm talking to as well. If you wait until you're 30. After a woman get 30, she's getting into that high risk pregnancy, and you're trying to have a big family. It's not real. It's counterproductive to your plan if that's your goal. So that also plays in a part of it. So we either we can't give the advice of like get married when you're 30.
But wait a minute.
If you're trying to build a family,
that makes me think of something. So I think that's how a lot of young women end up outpacing the income. It's because they know the closer they get to 30, that they start hitting that wall that you started talking about. They have kids when they can and try to figure it out later because at least I got my kids.
I don't know though. I think we're getting too much credit on that too. Like one of them having sex.
No. I believe that, but look at it like this. Okay.
Especially when they get closer to that time, I think it may play a part in it.
Girls.
I'm talking about they're more prone to get a abortion early on. Yeah, but if you're like 29, I'm still not in the right situation. But dang, I might not get another chance.
And I don't think we give them too much credit because at the end of the day, women always get bailouts because they're not made to be accountable. I'm just somewhat.
To what extent? What you mean?
What I'm saying is, man, if they have a kid,
right?
Even if they don't have a job, they have a kid, they can still get on government assistance. They can still get EB2. They can get. They still gonna get child support. They gonna figure it out. They being reacting versus being taking initiative, being proactive.
For their kids though, man, when girls is 8, 9, they playing house. They think about kids and marriage and stuff like that. For a guy I know, hell, I could probably have kids when I'm 70. So I don't have that overhead of thinking, well, one day, no.
Right.
If I'm pumping, I'm putting it out there. But for women, in the back of their mind, even from young ages, it's like they have this number in their head. The closer they get to that number, they just like, and then some of them, for some of them, they just being dumb.
And I'm gonna tell you
sex again.
Something else about outpacing your income. Right now, like at the end of the day, I always say this: we still animals, right? Mm-hmm. So women still mate with the most suitable suitor. You see what I'm saying? Like the alpha. Whatever they deem that in their mind. And right now is that person that's making that excess money that can give me and buy me what I want, whatever that looks like. And a lot of times it's not the right person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they're making these bad decisions based upon that. You see what I'm saying?
You wanna know why? Because alpha right now is a facade because they get tricked by these young men out there that pull them in. Why? These young men have bad financial habits because they put all their money into wearing certain things. So it's an appearance. So she gets attracted to the appearance.
They're impersonating stability.
They look like they got the bread.
They look like rappers, which would be or whatever. Exactly. They look like rappers. They look like D-boys. Whoever the boss is, they
look like
exactly, but they not realizing they need to be
looking for the CEOs. He living check to check because he buying Jordans
And all while they're saying that the hard working person like your grandfather and stuff doesn't exist. They do exist. They just don't wear their financial situation on their body. You know what I'm saying? They actually have that money behind them.
So he doesn't look like a king. He doesn't look like a prince. He looks like a pauper. The hard working man that probably is financially stable. When he comes up to him, he probably like an average everyday Joe because of how he working,
But they figured out when they get about 35.
Yeah. And it's too late for them.
And they got a 56-year-old man running around here taking them to the plum.
They're taking the plum. I like plum. Don't do that.
No, I'm saying
but like you just said, they looking for a certain thing. And again, that's us culturally putting too much emphasis on the appearance of money versus having the appearance of wealth versus actually having it. I think is that. And also the thing is they'll look at this dude who don't have on the flashy stuff and he an average Joe, but you know who is paying attention to him? The white girl. The white girl, she gonna see him because he's a black nerd or whatever, but she know that he making 80 to 100K and whatever, and now he gonna mess around with her because that white girl or whatever paying some attention because she know culturally. Probably the overweight white girl that couldn't get a decent white guy. she gonna get the best of the black guys that's actually doing something. And what's gonna happen is that black dude gonna marry that white woman, and then black girl's gonna say, look at him. He a sellout. He out here. He don't want no black one, but she wasn't paying his ass no attention anyway because he wasn't wearing J's.
It's the value.
Of course.
You look at. I'm just saying. I'm saying you look at. All right. So this is the problem that a lot of young women fall into, right? They see let's say a new Mustang, right? It come out, it's $50,000. So then you got this $50,000 Mustang. So they thinking, oh shoot, he good, he got this fit, but really you just had good credit, right? Mm-hmm. So what you saying about the white woman, she the one that'll see that, that 67 Shelby in a barn that needs some work, but she understands, hey, when this Shelby is put together, I could probably auction it for about $2 million because it's worth something. So they looking at the building process of it. They looking at
But dude, are we going back to giving too much credit? Like are they really
Some of them. I'm not saying all of them. I never said all of them. I said some of them. For the ones he's talking about, like the ones that find these brothers in college or at a certain level, and then they get with them, or even let's just take athletes. Right. The average black female, she want to go after the star, but you got that other girl that might look at this third string player and say, you know what, I'm gonna stick it out with him. Then next thing you know, by his senior year, he's starting. He done became Stetson Bennett. Now he finna go to the league, and she been with him since day one. But the first thing they gonna say is, "Oh, now that he became popular." No. This go back some years.
But you know what? It really goes back to what we've been saying this whole time. It's like, what does the household look like? If a girl come from a solid household where the father was that hard worker or that person that represented the proper morals and stuff, she's gonna look for that in
they don't know what it
exactly.
Look like,
she know what the first.
But I ain't gonna even say it ain't even always got to be a dad. It could be that uncle or that man that's in their life that
so
they
she'll
see.
know what a hard working man looks like.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And I think that transcends all colors. I mean, you can have a girl from the hood who uncle worked on cars his whole life, but when it was her graduation, he showed up, got clean, and washed all that oil off his hand, but he showed up for her. So she's gonna look for a man that show up for her. You know what I'm saying? Or that uncle that came up and when I was in a bind, I can always call Uncle Jermaine. He gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? I want somebody that's gonna provide that for me. You know what I'm saying? When I get older, that's what it boils down to. That's why, like, even though we may not always have the answer, we can't control relationships. Just as men, just get into a solution part of this, we gotta be those examples, you know what I'm saying, for girls in the community, and I think that'll start to offset that a little bit.
Facts.
Showing them what like
just being what you're supposed to be like in your community and in your extended family.
The hardest part about that is that we got so many guys now, even in our range, the ones that's supposed to be setting an example, they want to look like the guys 19 and 20 years old. So now the men that they looking at. And even those men, I'm just be honest with you, I work in the automobile industry, right? A lot of them dudes, sorry. You know how many 30 and 40-year-old men that I get that work up under me that I'm like, he ain't gonna cut it. I've had to have some of them fired, just poor work ethic. They just don't get it. I had this one guy, he actually got pissed off at me. We was talking about just being raised and stuff. And I said, I made the comment that I don't think a woman could raise a man to be a man. And he said, that's a lie. My mama raised me. She raised me to be a man. I said, well, what make you a man? He said, I got education. I work. I got a house. I pay my bills on time. I said, well, you just a responsible citizen. That's the same advice I should give a girl. I said, no, what make you a man though? I said, let me tell you why I say it's not true. I said, because you have a lack of accountability. You make excuses for everything. I said, son, you don't like authority. I can go tell you right now, it's part of my job to tell you what to do. I said, hey, I need you to go sweep that. Why? Why don't you do it? How you doing that?
Sounds like your mama.
I said a man does not argue with authority. Right. A woman does. I said, and she put that in you. Because when a man recognizes authority,
I'll meet you in the parking lot.
Right. Yo, he looked like he wanted to fight, but I said when a man recognizes authority, it's just like, okay.
You sunned him,
as
though.
a man, if I see a bigger man, and I'm not no small dude, but if I see a dude my size or bigger, my common sense tell me, hey, you might not want to run up on that dude, right? Just like with a dog. Big dogs, if you ever notice big dogs, they'll run up on you and they'll stand their ground and bark. Even them little dogs that'll just run up there with no fear. I said, that's how women is. They just don't have no fear. As a man, I can recognize a threat, right? I said, you, son, you don't recognize a threat. I can have you fired. Right. I can walk you up to that office right now, right? And here you are talking to me like you crazy when all I did was to ask you to do what your job. I said, a real man is going to work how he's supposed to work when he's supposed to. He going to put his head down. He going to say, you know what? All right, boss, you got it. I'm going to take care of it. I said, that's what a real man is. I said, women argue with authority like that. Right. I thought we was gonna fight, but you know what I'm saying?
But men, we operate in logic.
Right.
Like what you just said, there's like we're gonna assess a situation like, look, I cannot, as a man, it's my responsibility to provide. I can't lose this job because I don't want to do my job. Right. And something you said, I was gonna say something about that. You was like, I'm a big dude. First of all y'all niggas is big dudes. First of all, I was like, it's a whole lot of muscles in this motherfucker. I was like, nigga, everybody in here is big. Like, I'm rarely come in. I'm like, I might be the smallest nigga here. I'm like, y'all all niggas. This is about what? This is about 2,000 pounds of bench pressing right here at this table right now. Like, y'all some big niggas, man. This ain't a podcast. This is a goddamn bodybuilding competition, man. But you gonna fuck that nigga up though, man?
Hey, I was gonna wear him out.
But I want to double back on what you were saying though. Is one of I hate to see people not take advantage of situations, and they look at it as when they're in the job, they're like, all right, that's my boss or whatever the case may be. I have this conversation with employees all the time, and I tell them, you working for a Fortune 500 company, and you're concerning yourself with the minuscule details of someone telling you what to do, when you should be trying to learn the business of the business. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you come into the job at $15, $17 an hour, it's school. Like, you should be looking at, I'm getting paid $17 an hour to learn at this point in time. And then once I learn, I will escalate and do what I need to do to get there. I didn't have that thought process when I first got to a job. I looked at it as a job as a means to finance something else.
Right.
Until a mentor sit me down and had this conversation with me. And it was a female. She was like, you have to take this opportunity for what it is. If you're, just look at it like school. You're actually being paid to understand how this operation works.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So come in here and try to learn it. Learn from the good leaders, learn from the bad leaders, learn from the good processes, the bad processes, understand how the business works so you could position yourself to be valuable. And it gets so easy. Like, literally, when that was told to me, it was like immediate just transformation of my mindset, then my pay. It just automatically followed it because I actually fell in love with the process of learning the business. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And when I tell people that now, it's like, it's a slow building light that comes on. And the ones that catch it, they get it and they gone. So going to that young man that you were talking about, you'll never be in that position if you're trying to fight the authority. Like, you have these people in any job that's always trying to stir up the mess because they're uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm sitting here, why we got to do this? They always got us. It's they. They is paying you. They is paying you. Like, so figure out why they want that. Figure out the process. Figure out the game, and then play it to win. Don't just sit in. If you go, and I was going to talk about this earlier. You have people, when you said the 17, people bounce around $17 an hour. People do that in place at jobs. They tell you the goals, they tell you what you need to do to achieve to get to the next level, but yet you'll barely get by for a whole year. You'll waste a whole year of your life to be right back at that same point at the end of the year while everybody else is getting promoted, getting raises and stuff like that. And then you say, January next year, I'm gonna do good this year. And then you fall right back at that situation. Then it's 5 years down the line, and now you disgruntled with the job and mad at the job because you didn't put that effort in.
Still trying to keep up with the people that have surpassed you. You still stuck right here at 17. The people that started at 17 are now at 22, 25, and so forth. But you don't want to feel bad about the fact that you're not advancing, so you start outpacing your income by trying to live like they live. They buy a house or they get a car, they get this. You still trying to match it, but you're not matching pay. But when I give advice to people, you know what they say? They ask me, well, I'm trying to get like you, Monte. We trying to make this, we trying to make that. I say, well, I can only tell you how I did it. So when I start telling them what's required, even with having a kid, I said, I didn't plan for my first kid, but this is what I did even after I had that first kid. I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Well, everybody can't be you. I said, well, listen, I can only tell you how I did it. I said, but you know what the problem with the average person is? Everybody want to be the man, but nobody want to be the man that the man had to be in order to be the man.
Lack of effort outpaces your income.
Oh, man, and something you said, that was actually both of you just dropped some gems. But going with you first, what you said, that whole, like, they're paying you to, I took it as you getting paid to learn a skill set. And like, yeah, like you getting paid to that's the logic. And also you learn that, okay, You learn that what's a good leader versus a bad leader. You learn to love the process, like you said. And that's with anything, you know, whether it's you know, sports or whatever. If you love the process, you're going to excel, you know. And so that was a very, you know, valuable. That's some man shit right there, you know. And to go back what you were just saying, but nobody want to be the man, you know, they don't want to be the man that it requires to be the man that they want to be, something like that. That's close enough. But the thing is if they want to be like you, they need to take every bit of advice that you give them in order to get to that. But now they're just making excuses.
So you know what they do?
What's that?
If you a chef and you make a cake, and I say, this is a good damn cake. Hey, man, how you make that cake? So you give me the recipe. But you can only give me the recipe according to how you made it. Now, it might be a red velvet cake, but this is your red velvet cake, how you make it. So if I want it to taste like yours, I don't just need the ingredients. I need your instructions. Right. You tell me how to make it. So what people do, I'll just substitute this, or, you know, I don't got 3 hours to let this sit. I'm gonna let it sit for an hour and a half. They take these shortcuts, then they cook it. Then it don't turn out like yours, and then they get mad. They say, well, my cake don't taste like yours. You say, well, did you do what I told you to do? Exactly like I told you to do it. But still, I ain't do everything. Okay, but if you want, and that's what a lot of people want, they want ingredients with no recipe. They just want you to put everything in a box.
I would even respect the person that would even do that. Some of them don't even want to even cook the cake. They'll look at the instructions and be like, the ingredients and be like,
too much.
Yeah, exactly. Too much. And I was going to say, what both of y'all both did was saying, really is a step, and you have to learn how to, in order to be a leader, you got to learn how to follow, right?
Facts.
Yeah, so, that's in everything. So if I tell you, these are the steps to get to where I got, you need to do every single goddamn step that I just told you, you know.
But they don't want to. They don't want to do the steps. You teach them. You teach from experience. I said, I can only teach you from experience. Okay. It's like I said, you know the difference between somebody giving you ingredients and then somebody giving you ingredients and a recipe? I said, I can give you ingredients right now. Bread, flour, milk, sugar, cinnamon. All right. You can make a cake out of that. But what you gonna do with it? I gotta give you the ingredients. I can tell you right now how to become a millionaire. Save money. Invest your money. Maybe start a business, right? That's sound advice because somebody that's a millionaire did that, right? That's just general advice. But if you really want to know how to, but I'm not a millionaire, but I just gave you some millionaire advice, right? Would you listen to it? No. You're going to listen to somebody that's a millionaire because they did it.
Right.
Not somebody that's telling you theoretically how to become a millionaire. You're going to listen to somebody that's a millionaire and they can tell you step by step how they did it. Right. So when I'm trying to bring these young people along and other people older, and I'm giving them advice about not outpacing the income and how I help myself, how I rebuilt my credit, how, you know, when I had my first kid, I didn't allow myself to have another one for 7 years. They don't want that. For some odd reason, they want you to give them advice that you've never used and never lived by. I said, well, if that's the case, I'm gonna give you some advice. This is what you do. I tell them everything I didn't do. Get out of high school, go to college, get a degree. Get married, be married for at least 5 years, have a kid, you'll be successful. Now, that's true. Did I do that? No. Might work, might not. I don't know. I know it worked for me. So when you come back and you get mad, I did everything you told me to do, it didn't work. It didn't work for me either because I didn't do it.
But you know what? We talk about this a lot too in being mentors. I have this conversation with people a lot as well. And I say, you know, you should come out a mentor. You should come out and be a mentor. And they say, well, I got to get my stuff together. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got some things I want to do before I come out because I want to have something to talk about. I don't want you then. I want you now.
Yeah.
I want that conviction in your voice because you in that spot that you in and you know all the mistakes that you made. I'd rather you come now. Don't come later. You know what I'm saying? When you're a finished product, everybody want to brag then. Come with that humility now so you can be relatable. You know what I'm saying? When you come back and you're successful, you're unreachable. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, I can't see that, but I can see I'm right here. You know what I'm saying? I can see where you right there and you're trying to do this because I can relate to that as somebody as a kid that's trying to get good grades, trying to do that.
Currently.
I can relate to that. I don't, you know, that turnaround story, everybody come in here and tell that same turnaround story, but we got to get comfortable being able to give advice even when we're not in the position we want to be in. Right. You know what I'm saying?
But I think it also goes to people saying like you can't judge no one. You know what I'm saying? The thing is like people are scared to judge you on your shortcomings or your flaws because you go and then in return judge them, which is should be understandable. Like we should not be to the point where we can't be judged or criticized or adjusted in what we got going on. Like we should all be able and willing to grow in whatever we got going on.
Or feel like hypocrites. I told you about the people that feel like hypocrites because they say, well, who am I to tell this person what to do? I haven't even figured it out for myself. How can I give you advice? Well, I'm going to tell you something. Just based off what you said, I told somebody the same thing. Sometimes the best advice you can give somebody is when you're in the struggle with them.
Yeah, fact, 100%.
Yeah,
because I can tell you one thing. If I can't swim and you can't swim, I can still save you if we both struggling in that water together. I can't save you from the beach.
Or if you can't swim and I can't swim and I jump in the water and almost drown, I'm gonna tell you not to get in that water.
Right. I can't. I have to be. Sometimes you got to be in the struggle with the person to save them. If you sitting on the beach, and they out there somewhere, you ain't gonna help them. Like they dead.
You got to give them directions.
You got to be in the water with them
40
sometimes.
miles over 40 feet away.
Right, and that's how you hear the stories about those heroes, the people that plane crash or boat go down or building on fire or whatever else. And even though they're dying too, or they're in peril just like everybody else, there's a thought process of
you gotta get out of this.
Maybe I can't save myself,
right?
But I'm gonna save you, and that's what we think about. So we got to use that same mentality in advice, in finances. Even if I can't save myself, maybe I can save you. It might be too late for me. Right. I don't know, but maybe I can give you something that'll help get you out of this situation, and you never know. It might come back around, but if you wait until you reach that point when you can finally help somebody, look at all the people that you could have helped.
Right, exactly.
That's gone now.
Yeah.
I see what
you let your pride and your ego get in the way because you want to come back and be a success and tell the story.
You let 15 people fail so that you can come back and help that one.
Well, the reality is you might not never make it. Like you might not never, it sounds good in theory, but you might not never get to where you're trying to get. You know what I'm saying? So you just go not do anything until you get there. You know what I'm saying?
Can I play devil's advocate right quick? Because that was something that kind of I had some conviction with that because I was like I've been asked to mentor before and I was like, well, I'm not successful yet, and I didn't feel right about it at the time because my thing is how am I going to teach somebody how to eat if I can't feed myself?
But see, this is where you mess up at. You're successful to somebody. You're not successful to where you want to be. We never gonna get there. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't. Ideally, you gonna always be. Once you get here, I want to be there, and I'm gonna come back and I want to mentor these people. No, mentor the people that need it.
But I'm glad we having this talk because my thing is I think we're all. None of us are where we want to be, but all of us have reached a milestone. So what we can do is we can take notes. We can compare these notes and all collaboratively work together to get to where we're trying to go. Because like you said, I can't teach you how to be a millionaire. You probably can't. But my thing is you know something and I know something. And my thing is we can work together because my thing is what I do know, because I'm not a millionaire either, but what I can tell someone is I can teach them how not to be an employee. Because I'm a business owner. I don't punch a clock. I will probably never punch a clock again. You couldn't pay me enough to because I'm happy controlling my schedule. I know that in order for you to be rich, you can't work for somebody else. That's something because someone's never going to pay you enough to stop working for them. They're going to pay you enough to come back to work. So eventually you're going to have your own business. So I can say, hey, look, this is where you start if you want to become an entrepreneur. You're going to have to learn how to multiply. Like you could take your philosophy, take my philosophy, take your gym, take your gyms. We can put that shit together. I feel like that's something we could do.
Absolutely. And my thing is, what we do, we all was 14, 11, 12-year-old boys, and we tell the boys all the time, we challenge them to go talk to another man and say, hey, if you go back to my age, what advice would you give me? You know what I'm saying? Everybody got some advice they can tell. Man, I go back 11 years old. Don't do this. Man, focus on this. Don't do that. Everybody got something to give to these boys. And the thing about it, a lot of these boys don't have somebody that they can talk to even give them that advice. So everything matters. Everything counts. You just never know. And from our perspective, it's a game of numbers. We talk to these boys all the time, and it's, you know, some of the stuff that we say stick, but it's another man that's gonna come through, and we done told these boys this stuff for 6 years, but it's gonna be one guy come through that they ask that question to, and they gonna say it in the right format, in the right way, and they may be in the worst set of circumstances, and it's gonna connect.
Right.
I think about when I tried to teach my daughter how to count money when she was younger. I mean, I did everything I could do. I just gave up. My brother-in-law came in. He's like, "Oh, all you got to do is this," and she said, "Oh, okay." Da. I said this. I was so mad. I had spent weeks because it was the pride.
The pride. But she got.
But I was happy. But I still was mad.
He taught a language she could speak,
and that taught me a lesson. It's like sometimes it's not in vain. What I realized in that it wasn't in vain. It was like I was talking to her and I was giving her information. It just wasn't. I wasn't connecting the dots. He came in and connected the dots of all this work that I've been put in. And he did it in seconds. Some people got a gift for that. Yeah. A lot of people don't even know they got that gift and they walking around with it. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
That's why we gotta just like you get the same message. I watch a lot of documentaries, right? So even my wife asked me one time. I watched a documentary. She say, "Well, didn't you already watch a documentary on this guy?" I said, "Well, yeah, but this is by somebody else." Right. She said, "But it's the same story." I said, "Yeah, overall, I know what's gonna happen." I said, "But each documentary I watch, yes, I'm gonna hear a lot of the same stuff, but I'm also gonna hear some stuff that I probably didn't hear because this guy's gonna cover some ground that this one didn't, or he might go into more detail." I said, "So when you take all of that and put it together, every documentary I watch on the same subject, my knowledge gets broader."
Different perspectives.
Right.
Different perspectives.
I'll tell my son that all the time. When he's researching certain things, you got to look at different sources to get information. Because sometimes somebody gonna explain something to you and they just don't connect. But somebody else gonna explain that same topic and it's going, okay, I understand it now. It's just perspectives.
How do we push that on the kids though? As far as I guess making, like, we could talk about sex and materialism and spending money here and credit and all this other stuff. How do we get the message not only to the young people but the people even in our age range or a little younger? How do we get that message across to them? How do we help, especially for the ones that's already made one or two mistakes this way or that way? How do you get them to understand outside of, like, do we have more financial literacy classes? In school, I think it's one thing I've been big on in school is I'm not a big fan of a lot of, like math and science. I think it's important, but I don't think in high school, like, you should be taking algebra 3 and 4 and 18 and calculus and all. I think it's for the birds. I think that in high school, really, once you take algebra 1 and 2 and maybe like pre-calculus or something like that, in economics, to me, in high school, doesn't need to be a one semester class out of 4 years of high school. I think when you hit high school, economics, especially because in the 4 year time span that you're in high school, economics can change tremendously from inflation on down. So I think that every year you're in high school, economics should be a 4 year class like math and science. It's I'm not gonna say it's just as important. It's more important because out of all the stuff that you learn in high school, sorry, I had to bend back for a minute. Out of all the stuff that you learn in high school, most of it you don't use.
So, but even,
you forget it.
But even still, though, we understand that the whole system of education is used to design for you to be a worker. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So if I teach you economics throughout high school, you gonna follow a line to classes. If I need you to be a worker, so I don't need you to be educated enough or understand enough to where you come out.
That's for us to push, though.
Right, I agree with you. I was saying that the school system is designed for us to be employees or whatever. They're not teaching financial freedom. Right. They don't want us to be free. They want us to be.
You to outpace your income because they don't teach you a lot of stuff. Right. School is designed for that.
As long as you outpace your income, you always gonna be in debt and you gonna always be dependent
Yeah.
Like that, and that's the trap. Yeah, always be in debt and always be.
Like they teaching you how to take care of babies and stuff in middle school and high school. I don't want to take this dog. I don't want to think about no kids.
Right.
I don't want to think about this young.
But you're right. I think it definitely starts with the parents. Us teaching our kids, the knowledge that they need. For one, we need to teach them like formidable Black history. I think that's number one. We also need to teach them, like you say, economics, things that's going to be used. Because it's funny. This is great. I got 2 kids. Both of my kids do very well in school, and I reward them for that. But when they do bad in school, they be so afraid that I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm like, trust me, you only gonna use about 10% of this. I let them know, don't even feel bad because it ain't gonna even apply to you. I want you to learn some life lessons, but the kids' first teachers, their parents, and then after that, I think we got to go back to, just in the community, we just got to go back to being tribunal. Like it takes a village. Yeah. So us as men, which you brothers have definitely been doing, as far as mentoring the young men and stuff like that, making up for the fathers or whatever that ain't doing their job. So I don't want to get too biblical or whatever, but a principle in the Bible is don't forget the orphans. Right. So as a village, like we need to be looking out for these young men. You know what I'm saying? So if we can do that, teach them stuff that we know they're not getting in school because the school system is very mid, teaching them that little extra. I think that's what, and you said, how do we get to that point? I think I tell people it's the same philosophy when it comes to working out always. Just get started. Yeah.
Just show up.
Just show up. Just get started and it'll work its way. It'll work itself out.
But even what you said as far as not getting too biblical, I think that's like, is the essence of where we at now. Like I don't even think back 20 years ago, nobody ever would have said in the comment, they would have said, I don't want to get too religious. You know what I'm saying? Right. That never would have happened. So I think now we get so far from
our roots.
Right.
Far removed from our origins that we lost, bro. Like and even like what I say, like what Vail used to say years ago was like just like far as like for us, religion is necessary. Like before, I think many of us, we all had our time where we said we want to kind of separate from the aspect of Christianity or the essence of religion to kind of get an understanding of where we come from. But at the end of the day, like whatever it takes for us to have good humanity is like necessary. Like without the essence of religion, like we need that hold on us, I would say, to make us be logical. Without that, we just out here just being dogs, you know what I'm saying? And the further we get from just trying to be religious, because that's what we're coming to now. Like nobody wants to be Christian. Nobody wants to be religious. Nobody wants to be this.
Do everything you want. Everything is okay. Shame nothing.
Do everything you want when you want. Like nothing's off the table. And the further we get from that, it's more outlandish we get. So I think we just got to be okay with allowing people to be themselves and their whatever it takes for them to be their whole self. Let them be that. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say what you said with religion. We trying to get away from it. It goes back to what we said when we first kicked this thing off: lack of foundation. That's why I was gonna say. At least going back to the day with church, we at least had some idea, some similar form of foundation across the board. And what I can say, because I'm not religious, but one thing the reason I use that verse I just said, don't forget the orphans. What I take from religion is that was a principle.
Yeah, facts.
Some religious beliefs, you got to be able to take the principles and apply those principles to the kids. Yeah, exactly. And I think if my thing, let's say you're a Christian, I'm a Muslim, which I'm not, but I could take my principles, you could take your principles, and if that shit applies, exactly. If it applies, dude,
it's a universal principle.
Yeah, it's universal.
Across all religions, there's a universal foundation that is pretty much the same.
Yeah, fact.
If you follow Louis Farrakhan, he does that very well. He takes information from everywhere and he applies it accordingly.
Exactly.
I am of the mindset that, for me, when it comes to religion, I feel like we, if foundationally, we just all agreed on just the, like you say, the principles of religion, we'll be in a better space. We gotta have some level of accountability. We walking around with a God complex. Like there's no entity bigger than us, so we get to dictate whatever we want to. And that's a scary place to be in. You know what I'm saying? And my thing is, it is not yielding us any benefit. Why do we, at what point do we have the audacity to say the Bible, whatever, this Bible's been on this earth longer than any of us, no matter how we feel about it.
Yeah.
How do we have the audacity to say that is rubbish or is nonsense? Like, what makes you feel, what makes you so emboldened?
Number one best-selling book in the world.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand the logic of that, because to me, if I adopted that thought process and that philosophy, what we do with these boys when we ask them, hey, as a man, sir, if you go back to my age, what would you tell me to do different? All that would be for nothing. It wouldn't make any sense for us to tell them to do that. If someone before you took the time to write down principles, dude, you ain't got to believe somebody walked on water, but there's a story behind it. It's something that's there meant to be put there to tell you something. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Take from that. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like the what they say, the best indicator of future behavior is past behavior, and nothing we're doing now has not already been done over and over and over again. It's a repetitive cycle. It's a repetitive cycle, and it's already a book there. And Will Smith said you should do two things in your life: read and run. He said, running, you at some point in time you will exceed a limit that you thought you couldn't exceed by running. And reading, there's not a problem that has ever existed that someone hasn't already put in the book. And you have the book. It's telling you a lot of these problems. You gotta respect it, and that's one thing that I do. No matter how I feel, I stop saying how I feel about religion and anything. I respect all religions.
I just respect it.
I respect all of them. Period.
And I will say this: probably one of the deterrents with when we talk about the Bible is because that book has been used to oppress. You know, so, and the thing is, and because of that, you have so many that have disdain, whether it's, you know, it was used to enable Black, you know, American slavery, because it was really because it was the misappropriation of the book itself.
Text, yeah.
I mean, of text, yeah, like the, and also it's also been used to really oppress and shame women too. So and really a lot of times women use that, oh, it contradicts. Well, it's funny because they'll say, oh, the book contradicts itself, but they always want to reference the Bible when they benefit from it. You know, you're supposed to be the provider, blah, blah, blah. But I think the issue with it is because the leaders have not been utilizing it properly and misinterpreting and putting out the wrong message.
Right.
Instead of taking sound doctrine and applying it for humanity.
Right.
If we sat down and wrote a book and we said all four of us gonna write a book, and it's gonna have some conflicts in there. You make it seem like it's one person sit there and wrote that whole thing and it's just supposed to all be congruent. That's not the case.
Anything of value to anybody, if they believe in it enough or if they want it bad enough, can be used to both help and hurt. So when it comes to the Bible and people talk about that and they say, well, it was used for this, that, and the third, I say, okay, and people using hip hop to destroy the community. So what? Whatever you like and whatever you believe in, the powers that be can use it against you if so they choose. That's with money. That's with clothes. That's with assets. That's with religion. It's with anything. Whatever they see that you like, and if they know, okay, you follow it, I can use it, they use it. It doesn't matter what it is. It's the Bible today. It's hip hop tomorrow. It's movies the day after that. It's football after that.
TV now.
It's clothes after that. Like they're going to use it. They're going to use it. So I don't blame the book. The book is going to be what it is. You know, you blame the people that interpret the book the way that they choose to.
Exactly.
Right. It's like a gun. How they say guns don't kill people. People kill people with guns. That's how I look at the Bible. It's just a book. It's the words. The words themselves are not that harmful. But if in the wrong hands, depending on the motive of the person, you know, it is. But, you know, I got like these last 5 minutes for round thoughts. So, because I'm gonna take this right here, especially given this last little bit, so I don't want to go too far down that road because it's something that I think can go into a whole nother conversation that I do want to hold, and I want to have time to sit down and properly convey some things and think about it. But, okay, so the overall thoughts that we crossed today as far as outpacing income, and we got to the roots. Today, we just really got to the root of a lot of issues. Right. So now, moving forward, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take these different root causes, and I want to diverge down each one of those paths so that we can start finding solutions. Putting the problem out there is not going to help.
It's easier.
We need to get to solutions. So we got to investigate every last path that we put, whether it's the education system, whether it's hip-hop, lack of religion, lack of culture. Because in this first episode right here, that's what I wanted to put on the table. I wanted to put a subject out there that give us many branches so we can go down those roads and investigate it in ways that other people don't investigate. Because that's the only way that we can help each other. You know, when you said that there's no Martin Luther Kings, and you said people got to be willing to help, and you said we don't have a voice, we don't have this. I can't help it. I can't help it.
Maybe we don't.
We got voices. We care. So we got to get the word out there. And the more we speak and the more passionate we are, right, if we do things the right way, I think people will come back around. And I do think that a big point that we all agreed on today is a lack of religious foundation, which is something that we were founded on. And so in the future, aside from going down, the reason I wanted to hold it is because I have my own beliefs on how we got to this point with the undermining of religion and how far away from it we've got. And that's going to take some time. And I know we also got on the table the whole, you know, is marriage required to create wealth? You know, we got the educational system, what we just talked about, being taught things that don't matter. I went to college. They made me take I went for a year. They made me take all these classes that had nothing to do with my major. And I said, why? They said, I want you to be well-rounded. I said, well, I learned about George Washington, 13 years of school. I don't want to hear nothing else about George Washington. I don't care what street he grew up on. I don't care nothing about it. Everything I learned, I lost. I lost it. They made me take chemistry. I don't know. All I know is don't mix pine salt with Clorox. I don't know. Like, that's it. But these are the answers that we got to get to, whether we got to go down the issue of teenage pregnancy. Why is it acceptable? Not acceptable. Shame. Lack of shame. Holding each other accountable. Starting with adults. There's a huge lack of accountability in adults. Even when situations happen around the country or other things, the first thing is always never their fault. Nobody ever did anything wrong, even with the kids. So we can go from this to that. I think we'll be okay. But just from going around, what's your final thoughts on the day? We'll start on the left side.
Outpacing your income. I think, at the end of the day, if you're whatever position you're in, learn as much as you can about it. If you're in a job and you've been working that job for years and you don't plan on seeing yourself leaving that job in the next year or so, don't waste another year of your life just going through the motions. Like, take full advantage of that opportunity and actually learn the business in which you're donating your time, years of your life to. Walk away with something other than just that paycheck that you're dissatisfied about, and then be able to use that information somewhere else.
I think, I guess kind of piggybacking off him, just learn what your purpose is. Your purpose, your reason for being at that job, and also knowing and just plan better. If you know that the income is not going to reach my goals, then I need to figure out what my short to long term plans are going to be. And even if the workforce in that capacity is for me, and also learning what your other options are. Everybody don't have to be employees. You know, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be a business owner, whatever. And to go what you said, you know, about school. I finished college, and what's funny is I got a degree and all that stuff, but my profession does not require a degree. You know, which is so funny. But just knowing as far as outpacing your income, knowing what your options of opportunity are.
I think at the end of the day, as far as the whole outpacing thing, I think the most important thing that young people got to do, or anybody, give yourself time to figure it out. Give yourself time to figure it out. The worst thing you can do when you haven't figured out your life, or when you don't have income, is put yourself in a situation where now you have to have the income, and now you don't have room to make mistakes. When I was single, I didn't have any kids. I had room to make mistakes because didn't nobody count on me but me. I had room to make mistakes because, okay, you know, I got a little extra money. If I spent it on some shoes, you know, it is what it is. But buying shoes was not a necessity. So it was easy for me to say, okay, just stop buying shoes. You know, don't buy a PlayStation. Yeah, I got extra money. But when you have something like a kid, that's just a continual bleed. That's a finance expense that doesn't go away.
Ever.
And so you got to keep accounting for that every paycheck, every move. Now you got like this person that you're responsible for that requires money. It requires money. There is no way around it. It requires money. Don't put yourself in that position. Don't put yourself in a position to where now you trying to split money that's really only enough for one person two ways. Especially when you don't have certain things to lean on, like education, financial background, or just planning. Because the average person, they just gonna be stuck. They just gonna be stuck there, and by the time they not only will they be stuck there, but they'll probably end up making way more mistakes before they figure it out. And for some people, there's no bouncing back from that. So yeah, you got to give yourself time.
Kind of, I guess, piggybacking up what everyone said. It's basically going to be just planning. Most of us, like y'all said earlier, we react instead of just having a set out plan and just be and moving to our plan. If we set out a situation to where we understand that what we're going to do next is, it's going to be much easier for us to accomplish our goal. Just don't be, and like it's easier said than done, I would think. But the thing is definitely just being more apprehensive on the moves we make. Like the brother said, he waited before he had kids. Like we can't be just so caught up in life that we don't take the time to think or strategize what we're gonna do next. So definitely my biggest thing, my biggest take from outpacing our wealth is gonna be just taking time to plan, taking time to sit down and understand what your life is gonna look like if you make these bad decisions, if you make these choices, what's gonna be next. We should be okay with saying, I can't afford to have a kid, or I can afford to have a mate. Just those things are things that we should be okay with saying. And once we get to the point where we can accomplish those things, then we can move forward. But no, don't move forward until we have those situations set in stone.
And in the meantime, I'm gonna get these buttons fixed. That won't work.